All right, we are live. Early morning tapping Birdie here with Josh Carpenter of Sports Business Journal. Josh, big fan of your work. I'm glad we could finally get you on TIB, and I'm really excited for your Cognizant Classic picks this week.
Yeah, shout out to my buddy Thomas Leary. Big fan of Tappin' Birdie. Big Mad Men fan. He's been pumping me up for
Really?
Tappin' Birdie for like a year. He's been saying you should go on Tappin' Birdie. Get with BK. You should go on. And so he got me to start watching Mad Men just last week, so I could prep for today. Because I know you're a big Mad
Wow.
Men. So I don't know why. It's like we tried the wife and I tried to start watching it a few years back, and she wasn't into it, and so it just kind of sat there. But I dove in last week and I'm loving it.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. To me, it's the greatest show of all time. Like I think it's on par with The Sopranos, and I majored in marketing. I don't work in marketing now, but I just have always loved Mad Men, and now that it's on HBO Go again, or HBO Max, I don't want to say the wrong sponsor names with you. I know that that's very important.
We paid
But
pretty
yeah, it's the
close.
greatest show ever.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's the greatest show ever. To me, season 2 is the worst season. So everything else is really unbelievable. So like 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are really great. So the only thing I would say, if you're not loving it during season 2, like just get through it and get to season 3, and you'll
So,
be
so
all good.
I'm only in season one. Obviously, I just started like last week, and super interesting coincidence. I'm playing golf at Hilton Head yesterday in a scramble, and they just stick me with three strangers, and one of the guys in my group, his dad worked for Bethlehem Steel, and like I
Wow.
was watching the Bethlehem Steel episode like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
pretty wild. But
That's funny. So we saw your tweet. You played the newly renovated or
restored, restored.
restored. That's what I thought. Okay, restored Hilton Head. Coming up in a few weeks here. How did this come about? I was out shoveling 3 houses yesterday. You were playing golf, a little bit different, but you told me it wasn't the greatest experience in the world because it was pretty cold and windy.
It was a great experience. Like I'd never played that golf course, and if I had, I probably would have looked at the weather and said, "I'm not going to drive 4+ hours to Hilton Head to play golf and get up at 4 o'clock in the morning." But no, it was great. I mean, I had never seen that golf course. It's a golf course that I'd played like video games on for decades at this point, right? Super cool experience, but it was like I told you before we came on, the feels like temperature when we finished was 34 degrees, and when we got to 17 and 18, I mean the wind was just humping like probably 40 miles an hour off the left off of Cal Bogey Sound. Like, so I did hit I told you I hit a deep fly ball to right field on 18 that landed in the condos on the right, which I didn't even know existed on 18 because usually the hospitality is like blocking them there. So it is possible to go that far right on 18. So,
I,
but it was,
I
but it
know
was great.
that I know that you've never played it before, but could you tell any major differences that they made over the past year? Do you think it will play any different coming up? Did they just like change some of the bunkers? Like, what were your biggest takeaways from playing the
They,
course?
they they changed some of the bunkering. There's a if the listeners are familiar with the par five fifth hole, there's a tree, and you saw they did it at the Players last year where they moved this tree on number 6, I think. And so there's this new like technology our caddy was telling us about, and they basically moved this tree on the par five six like into kind of blocking an approach. Maybe if they're going for it in two, it might dissuade them from going for it in two. So there's that. They took a lot of cart paths out to make it just feel a lot more like native
Okay, I like that.
top. All new the planks around every hole. They all new like planking and all that stuff around every hole. So that's all new. Bulkhead is the word I'm trying to think of.
Yeah.
So all new bulkhead. Some riveted bunkers, some like little pop bunkers they've added to give it more of a link style on some holes. So it was really cool, really cool experience. Anytime you get to play a course that the PGA Tour
The
plays, those
tourist
guys,
play.
like, it
Yeah.
truly gives you a really great appreciation for how good they are. just because, I mean, we were playing like 2 up from the championship tees, I think, for this scramble. And now, granted, like I mentioned, the wind and the cold probably added at least 20, 30 yards on every hole, it felt like. But it was a great experience. And those guys, like, they were voted like the PGA Tour event of the year with relation to like how they treat their fans last year.
Yeah.
So like if you've never been down there, you should definitely go. It's a great like fan friendly event, really cool vibe, just like the week after the Masters and everything. I would definitely check it out.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting about the course is that I think it's probably the shortest course on tour that produces the hardest winning score. Like, these guys don't eat up that course at all anymore. I don't know what the playoff last year. I feel like it was like 16, 17 under with JT and Novak, but it's definitely a course that these guys just don't blitz, even though it's, an older design and it's like 7,000 yards. Like, it's not even that long at all, but you have to play from the fairway. And even in some of the spots on the fairway, it's hard to go at the greens.
Hitting the fairway, hitting the fairway is not enough. Like, you have to have the right, or like you could hit. I hit several fairways yesterday, and we were totally blocked out, on approach. So it's a great shot maker's golf course. It makes them think, and I it's one of my favorite stops on.
Yeah. No, I've been down to Hilton Head a bunch. I've never played that course. I played some places in the Palmetto Dunes area, but I've never played Hilton Head. I know it's a lot, and I don't know if all my friends want to play it, but I would definitely love to check it out and go down for the event, because it seems like a really great time. So I'm glad you had a good time yesterday. I genuinely have never seen more snow in my life, and not an exaggeration, not playing any, like, it was crazy on Long Island yesterday. I'm very glad my house is out, my neighbors' houses are out. I'm helping out with everybody. We got the snow blower going. Dude, snow blowing is tough. I know you live in the South, but snow blowing is really hard. Like, it's almost like you might as well just shovel. So it was a tough day yesterday, but we're out of the woods. My mom could get to work. We're fine. But this East Coast winter is absolutely bananas right now.
We got about a foot of snow like 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, and it was the most snow I've ever seen in my life. And when I say I wasn't prepared, like, I didn't have a shovel, a snow shovel. Like, did not, like, I had a push broom. That was my way of clearing the snow, and then my push broom broke. And so, a couple days after the snow, I'm out there with a garden rake, like, clearing off my driveway. Like, that shows you, like, we ordered my 4-year-old son, we ordered a sled in preparation. It showed up after the snow was here, of course, and melted away. So I guess we'll be prepared in future years, but yeah, not prepared at all. It hadn't even snowed for like 4 years down here, and then we get a foot of snow. So
yeah, I cannot wait to play golf again. We have some trips lined up, so it's okay. And I was just in Florida, so I've played, but just that first round of Bethpage Blue in late March or early February will be unbelievable. I truly cannot wait, because it's been a tough winter, but we're gonna make it through. We'll be okay.
It's usually a 12-month sport down here, but yesterday was my first round since before Christmas. So it's been a tough winter, PK.
Yeah. It has. I'm a bit upset. Did you catch much of the Genesis Invitational on Sunday? Jacob Bridgman is your winner at Riviera. What were your big takeaways from Jacob Bridgman getting it done last week?
For whatever reason with the Genesis, like, it's a confluence of things just like always happen, and I just never catch much of that tournament. And I'm always pretty excited about it. I think it gets a little bit like, there's like too much like kind of energy going into it, like propping up this event as like the greatest event that's ever been played. And I'm not saying that, Riviera is overrated or anything like that, but for whatever reason, I never seem to be able to catch a ton of the Genesis. But I did, I caught a little bit over the weekend. Jacob Bridgman's one of those guys that, like, I don't know, do we see this coming, PK? I mean, he obviously had a good finish at probably should have won at Pebble, maybe. I mean,
yeah, it's really tough, because Jacob Bridgman is a guy where if you look back on last season, you're kind of like, how did he make the tour championship? Like he had a couple high-end finishes, but he wasn't someone that was in our faces a lot in 2025. And he finished as one of the top 30 golfers on the PGA Tour last year. So if you don't win as a rookie and you're not in all these signature events to start off, it's really impressive to make the tour championship. So I think that his year last year went a little bit underrated. I know he had a really good finish in one signature event and then a couple other top fives that got him in. And then to start the year, he was playing some really good golf. But I think in our minds, people that, like to bet on golf and follow everything every single week, Jacob Bridgman winning the Sony or winning winning the Cognizant or winning Valspar, that makes a lot more sense in a lot of people's eyes, given how good of a player we think he actually is. And then he goes out and becomes a first time winner at RIV in a super long time, first time PGA Tour winner at RIV in a really long time. And it's just like, yeah, dude, like sometimes the guys playing the best golf just go out and win.
And RIV has like some, like obviously like the greats have, I don't want to say have never won there because some greats have won there, but like Tiger never won. But you've got, hasn't like, didn't like John Merrick win at RIV and like, or maybe it was
James Hahn, like there have been some random
kind of goofy winners there. But I mean, like, Bridgman was like, wasn't he like number 2 in PGA Tour U a couple years ago? Like, let's not act like he was some like slouch, right? I mean, I think he's a pretty talented player coming in. But yeah, I agree. Like maybe you would have expected a guy like him to win the Cog this week or something like. And I think like if he doesn't win last week, for the Cog's benefit, he's probably still in the field. Out there at Palm Beach. So
and because my biggest recollection of Jacob Bridgman is betting on him at the Valspar last year, and he played well, but that week it was like, this guy is an awful ball striker. Like this guy is an all putter and chipper guy. Like he truly is really bad at ball striking, but he just gets it around because he's a really good putter. And he's always said that. Like he said in his presser, I've never led in strokes gained approach or even come close, but like I've always been a good putter. And I have to say, like I watched a lot of the golf over the weekend. I could not have been more impressed with his ball striking. He was hitting some really, really fantastic iron shots all day on Sunday, even though, a lot weren't, be making a bunch of birdies from him, but he was just hitting some really, really good iron shots. And then on Saturday, his 7-wood, he hits it to a combined like 3 feet from a combined 600 yards. And that was just extremely impressive to see him do that and to really find a it's funny to say like a PGA Tour player that made the Tour Championship was deficient in ball striking, but that was true. And I was just really, really impressed with how he handled himself and how good of shots he hit down the stretch. Did you see the finish? I mean, I cannot believe how close it got at the end, but it always seems to get close at the end, no matter how big of a lead you have on this tour.
Yeah, I did. I missed the finish. I saw obviously like I think Razorman made an ace and Rory pulled that long bomb on 18. I like the way Rory's tracking this year. Like I think like if he just doesn't have a couple careless mistakes at Pebble last week, he probably wins at Pebble.
Yeah.
And then talking about this week, I'm sure there are some shots that he probably. I think he missed some short birdie putts on Sunday, right? Like he's kind of right there to really contend. I don't, API, you always got to worry about API, what the weather looks like there. It's kind of goofy. It will be a really tough setup. But I think he'll be in pretty solid shape for players in Augusta for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And then we obviously have Scotty Scheffler with another slow start, but another good finish. I don't really know what to make of it because it's hard to say that he's struggling and that he's not as sharp as he's been in the past, but I don't know. I'm not willing to give him like 3 majors this year and like he's just going to go out and win every event. Bay Hill and Players are 2 of his best events on tour. These 3 that he just played aren't really. I mean, Waste obviously he's won twice, but Pebble and Genesis he hasn't won. So I think the big litmus test will be a week off for Scotty and then going to Bay Hill and Players back to back and seeing if he could start bad. But if he doesn't win at least one of Bay Hill or Players, like something.
Are you writing him off for Augusta? Are you going to write him off?
If he does, yes. If he does not win one of Players or Augusta, I'm sounding the alarm bells. And we could get a Charles Schwartzel winner at Augusta this year. Because Rory's dead at Augusta because he won last year. And if Scotty doesn't win multiple times leading up, then he's dead. So then at that point, I mean, we're talking.
Who's your early master? Who's your early Masters?
I don't know.
We're not there. We're not there yet.
I'm absolutely not there yet. I need to see, because if Scotty's gonna win, you're gonna know if Scotty's gonna win. So I'm not too concerned about it. I want to talk about the Genesis Invitational for a second. As an event, I know we might have some new listeners. Can you explain your job and what you do on Twitter to people? I'm sure most people follow
on
you,
Twitter. That sounds nefarious.
And I mean this. I genuinely mean this. I don't know how many people are better at their jobs than you are. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You have a very niche job and a very niche market that you look at, but you could not be more on top of everything that is happening. And I think a lot of people agree with me that you're a great Twitter follower and you really are great at your job.
It started off like covering golf business. You would think it's pretty cut and dry, like covering sponsorship and TV ratings, but it really almost everything is golf business. If you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, coming into this job, I wouldn't have said covering a schedule change or something like that was necessarily business related, but it all is, and it's all sponsor related. And that's really where I've kind of found my spot is that tracking all these sponsor renewals, it kind of just sets up how you can look at what the PGA Tour schedule, and we're just talking PGA Tour here specifically, what that schedule could look like. So coming into this year, I knew that Genesis, for example, they had signed kind of short-term renewals on that tournament in years past, but just knowing that their deal was up, that signifies it's like a coach, maybe Genesis, but some of these expiring deals, it's kind of like a coach for a football team or something. If they get in that last year and they're not already renewed, that a change is going to come more than likely, either to a new location or a new time, or maybe a new sponsor is coming in. We saw that with Farmers, they didn't renew at Torrey Pines, and now they'll have a new sponsor out there. But Genesis specifically, I know there's been a lot of talk about them, changing dates on the schedule and going to August. I think one thing that's gone a little bit overlooked with maybe them and Pebble is I don't know that Genesis and Pebble would be permanent spots on the playoff calendar if they do move to the summer. Because if you look at, just look at next year, you get the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. So is Pebble Beach going to host a U.S. Open and then a FedEx Cup playoff event in a span of 2 months? Probably not. And look 2 years down the road, is Riviera going to host the Olympics and the Genesis Invitational in a month span? Probably not.
Yeah, that really seems like there's no way they could pull that off.
So maybe
the Olympics would be so close.
Playoff event. Maybe it's a playoff event next year, but maybe it rotates and it's somewhere else, in future years. So I don't know. There's a lot of things still at play. I don't think they've really made any. Maybe they've made a few decisions. I think at the Players Championship in a few weeks, we'll get some direction. I don't think they're going to roll out what they love, the Players Championship, right? And they've made it clear that they think it's a major event. I don't think it would be in their best interest to roll out this new biggest change to the PGA Tour schedule in 60 years the week of their biggest event when they want that week to be about the event. So I don't know that you'll see like a full on 2027 schedule in a few weeks, but I think maybe they'll give us some hints and give us a peek behind the curtain at really what that'll look like. But yeah, it's back to like kind of what I do. I mean, it's tracking that, like the golf TV ratings stuff like wasn't really meant to be as vitriolic as it has been over the
Yeah,
last. But
it's
like,
become like politics Twitter and TV ratings Twitter.
I mean, it's so like, and I just have fun with it all. Like, I'm not like this. We're talking about golf. Like, it's not like life and death here. And so to see some of these people get so upset about like, you know, like a good TV rating or a bad TV rating, and I know like people are like, "Oh, you're too pro PGA Tour." Well, like you weren't following me 2 years ago when the PGA Tour ratings were in the tank, and I was posting about them every week, and everyone was, all up in arms. So anyway, it's like I just have fun with it, and it is fun to kind of chum the waters sometime and just like pull the grenade and throw it in there and see how people are going to react. But I just like to have fun with it. But TV ratings, sponsorships, like I'm super into like watching out for player sponsorships, like especially at the beginning of the year, kind of like new deals that are coming up, like the
Nico Echeverria, Morton
Salt
Salt
sponsorship. Like I'm trying to talk to someone from Morton Salt actually this week to like figure out like why are they sponsoring him. But it's fun to see him, sprinkle the salt after he makes eagle at Pebble Beach last week. I just have a good time with it, so it's fun.
Yeah, no, and I know I've very much enjoyed your time on No Laying Up. I know you're on 5 clubs sometimes in the morning. Yeah, I know the studio is a little bit different here than when you go on Golf Channel and Sirius XM. But the thing to me about Riv and Pebble is I understand the point of highlighting your best courses during the playoffs and making those 2 events like really big. But from my experience, Pebble and Riv do not have great attendance. Like LA, I've been to Riv this week. I know there was some weather, but it's not like a super highly attended event where people are mobbed and you can't see any shots and they're selling a million tickets because it's LA. There's a million things going on. People don't, there's not a ton of golf fans. They have a bunch of events where as if you go to a lower city, like, I don't know, like Hartford or Cromwell, like they show out every single year because it's a big event for the community, where I don't feel like it's a big event for the community at Riviera. And I don't feel like it is at Pebble either because it's not a highly populated area. The Monterey Peninsula, there's not a million people that are just dying to go to Pebble for the event. So do you think that is a factor in some of these PGA Tour decisions and the scheduling and everything? Because they're great courses and they're fun tournaments, but does the attendance in person, you think, impact things for these events getting different?
It doesn't impact things as much as like their TV rights contract does, which is where like most of the revenue is coming from. And so like if they can get if they're going to a bigger market at a well-known course, it's probably going to draw better on TV than a Cognizant Classic, which to your point, like Cognizant this week, I know they don't have any top 25 players in the field, but like that crowd always shows up for that event. It's always a great event. I've never been to it in person, but it's always a great event on TV. From like people show out. It's a big party. Hilton Head is a big party. All these small markets, but like to your point, like in LA, like ask anyone in like downtown LA this past week about Riviera, and they probably have no idea it's even going on, just because there's so many big things happening in that market. So that is that push and pull of like, how do we serve some of these regional? They're truly regional events, like the John Deere Classic, like that is huge to that region. the Wyndham Championship, even with the amount of golf that we have in North Carolina, like the Wyndham
Yeah.
Championship, I would say like the Triad area is different than the Charlotte area. Like people always show up to that tournament. So that is that kind of push and pull of what the tour is going to do in this kind of scarcity model. It's like, yes, we can maybe go to some of these bigger markets, but how many of these smaller markets do we go away from? And I still don't know how many there's a lot of talk about like cutting events. And I just still don't know how many events truly get cut. Like, I don't think you're just going to go from 40 events to, or whatever they play now, to like 22 events. You're not just going to.
I agree with you 100%.
Events. I think you might just see more of a more bifurcated PGA Tour, where it's like maybe a Cognizant Classic is a PGA Tour B event, whereas API is going to be a PGA Tour A event. And there are more PGA Tour A events, that take away from some of these PGA Tour and B events. Because truthfully, too, like going back to sponsorships, a lot of the full field tournaments just signed like renewals through like 2030. So like Zurich is on through 2030. John Deere just signed on through 2030.
Does that mean 100% that they are going to host a PGA Tour event through 2030? Is that what that contract?
I mean, I'm sure I haven't seen the contract, right? And so maybe there's a clause or something or an out in those contracts that say like, hey, if there's a seismic change to the PGA Tour, we can back out of this contract. But in a lot of cases, like they just signed those renewals like middle of last year, which is when Brian Rolapp was coming on. So like in my mind, they were already having conversations about this scarcity model and what it could look like. So would they have signed on with Zurich and with 3M and with Valspar and with John Deere if they were just going to do away with those tournaments? Like, I don't think so. And honestly, it feels like the tour would get sued if they tried to get out of unless there is a very specific out that these tournaments and sponsors knew about when they signed on. I had one tournament director call me up. He said there were going to be lawsuits if they start cutting, 10 and 12 events. So I don't know what'll happen. I think I tend to just think it'll be more of a bifurcated PGA Tour. I don't know that,
which it literally is now. You look at the field at the Cognizant Classic versus these past 2 weeks and 2 weeks ahead. It's not even close. This is without a doubt the worst field the Honda Classic has had in a very long time. And it was a great event. It kind of fell off. And then the past couple of years, it fell in a better spot in the calendar because we had Vedanta World back. Usually after Riv, they played Vedanta World. So it wasn't in that bad of a spot, but now it's just like, who is going to play this event this week? And the other thing that this is kind of a different conversation, but to me with the signature events, if you play good golf, you can get into them. I have not felt over these past 2-3 years that anybody that truly deserved to be in the field couldn't make it. Like any winner from last year, anybody that made BMW from last year, anybody that has played well in the 2 weeks leading up gets in. So that's where I don't think it's a closed tour, and I think there are just so many opportunities to get into these signature events.
Yeah, and I don't think they could just leave some of these markets. Like, let's use Cognizant, for example. Like, that's a PGA Tour, for your listeners, like, in a lot of the markets, there are, like, third parties that kind of operate these events, and the PGA Tour operates maybe 8, I think it's like 10 events, I believe, including, like, the President's Cup. And the Cognizant Classic is one of those events that the PGA Tour owns and operates that event. And so and they're signed through 2030 with Cognizant. So I wouldn't think and that's like Jack Nicklaus's like kind of hometown of he's always been like very closely associated with that tournament. He's in the television booth. Like, I don't see that tournament just going away. I mean, do you see, the Charles Schwab's deal with the Charles Schwab Challenge is up after the 2026 event? Like, are they just not going to sign? Are they just not going to play an event at Ben Hogan's, like at Hogan's Alley at Colonial? I don't think so. That would be wild. It would be wild to me if they decided, we're just not going to play at Colonial anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. Texas. I think a lot of people in their heads have this idea of what the PGA Tour is going to look like next year or in 2028. And I'm not there on everything completely changing. I think a big thing starting this year was talking about starting after the Super Bowl or the week of the Super Bowl at Waste Management and kicking the year off there instead of at the Century in Hawaii. To me, that seemed like the thing that was most, it seemed like, not that it was a done deal, but people seemed very confident that the PGA Tour is not going back to Hawaii in 2027. What is going on with the sponsors that you think could indicate that? Could they, is it plausible to get rid of Sony and not go to Kapalua in 27 with kind of what's going on with the sponsors?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Sony's deal is up. Like that the final event on that deal. I mean, they were a long, like they've been with the PGA Tour for like 25 plus years. I think 99 was maybe their first year. So that deal is up. And as I mentioned earlier, like if you have a deal that expires and you play your event and there's still no, like, I don't see them going back to Sony. And I think it makes it easier to not renew that deal with what happened with the water delivery issues at Kapalua. We kind of have seen the writing on the wall with how expensive it is to put on that event. To your point, that event's not like super highly attended. I know it means a lot to that area, to that region, and brings a lot of charity dollars in, but does not draw well on television, and costs a lot of money to put on. So I think Century is signed on through, I think, 2035.
Okay.
And so one thing I've heard, which seems kind of likely at this point, is that maybe Century would go on and sponsor the Torrey Pines event. So there are like all these little like kind of puzzle pieces you got to fit together.
Is Farmers up?
Farmers is gone. Farmers has, and that wasn't a Farmers decided they didn't like the PGA. Farmers got a new CEO a couple years ago. They've had some different things going on at their company, and they just said, hey, like at this point, it doesn't make sense for us to sponsor a PGA Tour event. And like,
okay.
I don't, if your listeners know, like the cost to sponsor a PGA Tour event have gone up exponentially, since LIV Golf came around, because the PGA Tour needed more money so they could keep players, so they could raise purses. I mean, the Miami event, I don't know what was in the end paid for that event by Cadillac, but the tour was in the market for $30 million a year for that event. Our event here near Charlotte, the Truist Championship, Truist is reportedly paying like $27 million a year to sponsor that golf tournament. That's a lot of, Brian, that's a lot of money to sponsor.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't really blame some of these companies for saying like, hey, like, what I heard is that Wells Fargo offered to pay the tour $22 million a year to sponsor the Wells Fargo Championship. And basically the tour was like, all right, well, we just got to find someone else. And that's wow. A company that sponsored the tour for a long time, and they ended up getting a higher price for it. So you can't really blame them for doing that. But so that's why there's so many kind of the tour would have sponsor turnover from year to year anyway, right? So it's not that out of the ordinary to see some of these deals expire and have new deals come up. But that is a big, BMW's deal is up in 2027 for the BMW Championship. The three sponsorships around the Tour Championship, Southern Company, I think Accenture, Coca-Cola, those deals are all up in 2027. So that's what I look at least in terms of like kind of trying to figure out what the future schedule looks like, is like, when are these deals up, which would allow the tour to kind of sign a new agreement or maybe renew early and figure out, all right, we want to move this around. We want the Tour Championship to rotate, that sort of thing. Wyndham Championship, their deal is up after this year. So like they're in talks right now to potentially renew that deal, or like, I don't even know if they know what's coming. Like Wyndham might not even know like what they're signing up for at this point.
Exactly.
Are they going to play in August, or are they going to play? Like, I think it would make a lot of sense to have this like Southern swing before the Masters, like play East Lake sometime before the Masters. Like East Lake in March or April would be much nicer than it is in August. I think
100%.
And that's what they used to do. Like, yes, you want to go to big markets, but if you go back and look at the PGA Tour back in the 70s and 60s and stuff, like it was very regional, because all these guys, all the players would drive from event to event. and so they couldn't be going from across the country every week. So I think that's maybe what they'll look at here in the next couple of years.
What is up with Amex? Is Amex going to be played next year? Because that would be, if the tour is going to start after the Super Bowl, the 3 events that you would have to, do something with would be those top 3. So is Amex on for a long time? Is
Their
Amex
deal, I think their deal is through maybe 2028. It's either 2027 or 2028. I don't have it in front of me right now. I think it's 27 or 28. Like I don't know, truthfully. They had a pretty good event this year with Blades Brown and Scotty won. And
it's a good field. It gets a good field, honestly.
And this was one of their better fields in, really a long time this year.
Yeah.
And that's an event that has a lot of history. It's the old Bob Hope, that event has a ton of history. But I think at some point the PGA Tour probably is going to have to just cut bait with some of these events that have history, as much as it pains me as kind of a long time. I know they talk about the scarcity model, but I love having PGA Tour golf to watch every single week.
And I think that a lot of people that do what I do don't want to get rid of events, because that's a big part of our content schedule, and it's a big part of our lives to start every week. Now, the super casual fan, they're not locking in the first week of the season, but for a lot of people on golf Twitter, it's a big deal to them when the season starts. And
you're just going to have to start going deep on, the magical Kenya Open.
Yeah, I'm not prepared to do that. I'm not prepared to do that. We have the South African Open this week. Just a huge event.
The magical Kenya Open, that was when I knew COVID was going to be bad when they canceled the magical Kenya Open. That was here we go.
Because that is top dollar down there. That's a big event. I want to talk about LIV for a second. You posted a nice article recently about another set of funding that the Saudis are giving them. What were your biggest insights and takeaways from that article, and what you took away there?
Yeah, it was a Money in Sport article. They've done, I think they reported it was $267 million in new funding for LIV, which is, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, $267 million is not that much. It's certainly noteworthy, but it's not that much. If that report said that they've spent, I think, $6 billion to this point through the end of this year. So I'm not surprised that Saudi Arabia keeps investing in it. There's all this talk all this time about LIV's they're just gonna pull the plug on it overnight. And I just don't see that happening. And you saw the event in Adelaide and how many people, and I know a lot of part of that is, I'm sure some of it's LIV, a lot of it's just that that region is super starved for pro golf. And so you saw the Australian Open, right? They're huge crowds for that too. So but I've been to 3 LIV events, one kind of each year in my role on the beat for SBJ, and it's not just going to go away overnight. I think maybe if people aren't watching it week to week, it's easy to, and you're just focused on the PGA Tour, it's easy to kind of forget about it. But if you're watching it week to week, and they have 200 people. I went to their Chicago event. They had 200 people just working on their broadcast.
Wow,
these are not small events. Someone told me a couple years ago that they spend as much money to put on a LIV event as they do to put on the Open Championship. If you go to these events, the hospitality is super nice. There's a lot of fan areas on the people who are at these events are having a good time. Is the golf a little bit secondary? It feels a little bit secondary, at least the couple events that I've been to, but people are going to these events, and I just don't think the Saudis are just going to pull the plug overnight. I just don't see it.
Yeah. No, I think
that, but I just don't see it happening.
I think that makes a ton of sense. I'm definitely not expecting LIV to be gone overnight. Regardless of what happened in the off season, they did add a decent amount of golfers that aren't complete nobodies. Ben On, Elvis Smiley, Dietrich, a couple other guys. They're still able to get people. I think the biggest thing that LIV faces now, and it's obvious, is that Bryson might leave next year, and Rahm would after that really be their biggest star if Brooks and Patrick Reed already left. And when Patrick Reed is willing to play on the DP World Tour, this is a guy who's a major champion that's won a bunch of PGA Tour events for an entire year just to have the chance to play on the PGA Tour again in a year's time. I think that shows what he thought of LIV and what the PGA Tour can do for him and how important that is to his career. So I think that when in 2022, when they had all these guys, they're not going to get rid of it. And I don't think they will, but they're going to, I think, potentially get to a spot where they don't have the high-end golfers to, then it's really going to not look great if they don't have the high-end golfers on tour. So that's my biggest concern with the players.
Yeah, it would be hard to really, draw a big audience, at least here in the States, if they didn't have the Brysons and the, obviously Brooks has gone now and Reed, but some of their other bigger names. But like LIV has made it clear to me that, whether it's maybe it's because they weren't able to sign a lot of the big name players. We know like Siwoo Kim was in pretty, late stage talks to join them this offseason. A couple of the names I heard, but like they've kind of taken this different path to signing these guys like Sasso, like Jose Luis Ballester, like, Elvis Smiley. I mean, Elvis Smiley is like a top
legit player. Yeah.
Like talent. I mean, so they've signed some really good young players. I think it's been interesting, like kind of the vibe I was getting from both LIV and the PGA Tour, like toward the end of last year, is that they were both just kind of going their separate ways. And they didn't care about what the other was doing. It was like, all right, just let LIV go over there and do that. And LIV was kind of felt the same way. So it's been interesting this year for LIV to see them kind of jumping back in the conversation and taking some shots at the tour a little bit. It feels like, and maybe some of that is a result of, Rollout making some of these moves to get, Patrick Reed back and get Brooks back. But that's been super interesting to me because everything I was hearing, toward the end of last year was like, hey, they're not worried about each other. They're just going to try and do their own things and build their own tours. So it's been it's fun and interesting to see LIV. I know LIV has a new chief marketing officer this year, so maybe that's maybe they're trying to do things a little bit differently. But that's been a pretty fun storyline to follow, early part of this year at least. Yeah,
and LIV's got a nice stretch coming up here. I think they're in Hong Kong next week, and then Singapore maybe. I have no real clue, but I know that they have 3 overseas events leading up to the Masters, which again I do not think is the greatest prep in the entire world for it. But I think
regardless, they're hitting some of these markets, like the Australian event is really good, and they're going to South Africa, which to me sounds like it's going to be a pretty cool event. I know ticket sales have been really good down there. So they're hitting some of these regions and markets that are a little bit underserved when it comes to, like, I know, we have some of the Sunshine Tour stuff in South Africa, whatever, but like they're trying to really have some like top end professional golf there. So it'll be fun to see.
Yeah. I will go to Trump Eddie this August. I'm going done. Like I'm going to a LIV event this year, like not
have you
even
been to a LIV event before?
I haven't gone. The last thing that was close to me was Bedminster in 2021 or 2022, and I couldn't make it. So now that they have something on the schedule, I will go because, like you said, like I really
you'll have a good time. You'll have a good time. It's fun. There is like something to the shotgun start, and I hadn't really like thought about it until I actually went and saw it. But like, if you're playing in a charity scramble or something like that, when they blow the horn, or like at Hilton Head yesterday, they fired one of the cannons, and it's pretty exciting when everyone hops in their carts and like goes out to the golf course. And it is kind of exciting at a LIV event where they everyone gets in their carts and they just go.
Yeah,
that's the one thing about the shotgun start I like.
And I also think that, if you're I go to the Travelers a lot.
Yeah,
you kind of go early and then you're just kind of waiting around for the bigger groups in the afternoon to go off. And, you're not seeing as like, I think you could potentially see, I don't know if you would see more golf, but you wouldn't be waiting around as much. And it would be easier to see like the groups come through and more, work your way around the golf course. So I think that aspect will be interesting from a fan perspective.
Yeah, as a golf junkie, like I hate the signature model, the
Yeah.
like reduced fields, because like I used to, living close to Quail Hollow here in Charlotte, like we used to go when I was high school and college, and we get out there at 6:45 in the morning, and the driving range is packed, And then I think it was not this past year because it was in Philly, but the year before, the final year of the Wells Fargo, like I roll up to the media. I'm an early media center guy. Like everyone will tell you, like I'm like in there at like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm in there, and the golf course is just empty. There's no one there, and it's just it's a little bit sad to me. Like I wish that I love seeing these full fields, a lot of players out there. There's a buzz to the event. So the signature model has definitely not like. I'm not saying it doesn't work for television because it gets the stars, on the weekend and everything. But for me, as just a golf junkie, I love getting there early and watching, back in the day was like Charlie Hoffman and Rory Sabatini on the range back in the mid 2000s. Like that was my, Jonathan Kay and like all these guys that like, haven't played on tour in 20 years, but I'm like, I remember watching those guys, those kind of mules as it would be like on the range back in the day. So I don't love that about the signature model.
Yeah. So are you going to any of the majors this year?
Yeah, I'll be at the PGA. I'll
Okay.
be at Shinny for the
Okay.
US Open.
Have you been to Augusta?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. But not this year.
I've played Augusta. Oh yeah, that's just a given. I'll be at Augusta. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so you won the lottery?
Yeah, a couple years ago. Yeah.
How did I not know about this? You didn't like write an
I
article about it or anything?
I wrote a story on it, but they don't like, they don't love the folks at Augusta don't love like making a big deal about it. So
okay, because everyone like No Laying Up did a pod about it. Brendan Porath wrote an article. Like
I did write a story on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your handicap?
Ooh, right now it's like a 7.3 or 7.4, I think, but it's probably closer to like a 10 because it's
what did you shoot at Augusta?
I shot a 90 at Augusta.
Were you happy with how you played?
No, not really. I would have liked to have broken 90.
So what was the hardest part as a mid handicap to play Augusta?
So the hardest thing, funny story, like so I'm warming up and I've always been a fader of the golf ball. And you get a caddy at Augusta. And I've got my caddy is like he's probably 80 plus years old, Bobby from Augusta. Great guy. So I'm warming up and I'm just hitting these like little butter fades on the driving range. Like I'm feeling really good. And so I go over to the practice putting green. I'm hitting some putts and Bobby has my bag like at the far end of the putting green. And I look over there and Bobby's like messing. It looks like he's like messing with my driver head or something. Like he didn't like that I was hitting these fades. And I don't know if it's Brian, like, I don't know if it was first tee nerves. I had this snap hook off the first tee and I didn't want to address it with him. I'm like playing Augusta. I'm like, do I address with my caddy? Like, hey buddy, were you messing with my driver? Or do you just kind of let it go? And so I let it go. But I've been hitting these hooks with my driver ever since then. And so I don't know what, but anyway, that was in my head all day.
I 100% would have said. I know it's obviously different when you're actually, you can't mess with somebody's driver. Like but I
don't know that he did though.
You don't know if he was like cranking the head.
It kind of looked like he had one little T tool out and was like kind of messing with it, but I don't know it for sure. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna let it be. But like the months after that, I couldn't get this hook. I feel like he messed with the face or something. But it was a great experience. No, it was what was the most challenging thing? I guess nerves.
Okay.
The most I wasn't really that nervous on the first tee, but they like roll all their like media relations staff out there. So there's like you actually have like a small like 20-person gallery or something. I think that made me more nervous than actually like being on the first tee to go.
And how many journalists get it?
I think it's like 36 players.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I think
And
they're pretty
how
good.
many? How are there like 200 journalists at the
I
Masters?
think there were like 300 maybe.
Okay. All right.
Once
10%
you
chance. That's not off.
once you win, you can't apply for it for another like 7 years.
Okay. So it's a smaller pool.
It's a pretty small pool. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
Uh,
I think that I've like I think it's genuinely you can make a case. I don't know. It might be easier to become a golf journalist and get a press pass to the Masters and win the lottery than get an
we can invite.
than just like get an invite to play Augusta National.
I think you're 100% correct.
Like I truly, I like golf course. I like top golf course. I mean, who doesn't? But like I really think that it's next to near impossible if you're a normal person that, isn't, a Fortune 500 CEO, friends or something to be able to play. Okay, how is the members pro shop?
It was great. I think my favorite part about the experience, or one of my favorite parts, is like you pull in and the guy comes out to get your car, and they basically tell you like you have to pull in exactly an hour before your tee time, like no earlier, no later, whatever. And you get there, and basically you get out of your car, and they're like, "All right, your tee time is at 11 o'clock. Driving range is over there. Pro shop's over there. See you on the first tee." And that's basically like you would imagine you would have someone kind of in your hip pocket the whole time.
Yeah.
But that was really cool to me that they were just pretty laid back about like, you have an hour to really like enjoy and just embrace it. And so that was really cool. But
No, I that's just the biggest flex in the entire world. I honestly like of the golf journalists I know, like a lot have played
yeah,
Augusta and won it. Like Brian from
some like
Sports
multiple times.
Illustrated. Yeah. So that seems to be the best way to go about it. If I am very jealous, obviously. But to play it after Sunday at Augusta is just absolutely insane. I'll have to get down there one of these years. We have 9-ish minutes left. I asked for a couple locks for the Cognizant. Did you do any research on the Cog and who you like this week?
I know it was like yesterday. I was like, I kind of check my phone throughout the day, and like I feel like every time I check my phone, it
Yeah.
was like that PGA Tour comms tweet would be at the top, like replying to the, Adam Scott has with, or did Scotty withdraw? He did, didn't he?
Adam Scott withdrew.
Yeah, it was like Ben Griffin withdrew and Bridgman withdrew, and like I feel bad for my buddy Todd Fleming that runs the event down there. They've just been so killed by this schedule. I think I told you I don't play one and done anymore, but like my biggest heartbreak. Well, I'll tell you, my biggest heartbreak was 4 years ago. I had Shane Lowry, who was in the final group, I
Yes.
think, with Daniel Berger, and it was the year that Sepp Straka won. And
Correct.
Lowry gets caught in this like monsoon on the 18th hole and hits the 18's this par five that everyone's making birdie on, and he needs birdie to make a playoff. And this monsoon comes up, and Lowry hits this like poof ball like 200 yards off the 18th tee, doesn't make birdie, and Sepp Straka wins. And then the following year was like one of my only one and done wins ever.
You had Chris Kirk.
And Eric Cole like absolutely should have won that event.
Yeah.
And just really yacked on himself down the stretch. I think Lowry has to be a lock.
Lowry
right?
is the favorite with Ryan Gerard.
Is Gerard okay? There were some books
Him and Gerard are like basically the same odds this week. They're both like 16-1. They're like 19-1 on.
I mean, I don't think. I mean, Lowry hasn't finished outside the top 11 in his last 4 starts here.
Yeah, but he hasn't won in America since Firestone in like 2014.
When was his last like worldwide win? Was it the Open Championship?
Well, he won Zurich, so he won his
last
individual win in America, I think, was Firestone in 2014, and his only other win is Portrush on the PGA Tour. I know there's the DP World Tour. I'm sure he's won on the DP World Tour, but he hasn't won in a while. And then you have Nikolai Højgaard, Rasmus. Not for me. I'm out on both of them. My biggest decision this week is Thor Bjornsson. I had him at waist. He had the lead on 16 and then completely shit down his leg. In my head, this isn't, a perfect Thor course, but he is my guy. He did play the event last year.
Did he play PGO last night?
He did play TGL.
How did he play?
I did not watch. That is not something
I
that
didn't catch.
I
I didn't catch
entertain.
any TGL.
But a lot of the TGL guys have been winning.
Right, and he said that after Phoenix, he was like, they asked him about like the big crowds and everything, and he talked about TGL. And if you ask some TGL insiders, like Thor has been like an MVP at TGL this year. Like he's been one of the best players on TGL.
Okay, I probably have to bet Thor then if he's playing well in TGL.
You have to. I think Bridgman was like one of the first guys to not get the TGL bump this year.
Correct. I think everyone else.
Goddard,
Rose,
Colin.
Not Scotty, but he doesn't count. Colin. What
about Berger?
I don't know how serious the guy is.
He hasn't won in 5 years.
Yeah, he has not won since it might be Pebble.
Pebble, like 5 years ago.
Yeah, Pebble 2019. I don't think 34 is really that bad of a number. I just don't know how serious of a golfer he is. Data Golf makes Brooks Koepka 115 to 1. He's currently 28 to 1. That's not going to be for me. I'm not.
I think I got to see Brooks do it.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. I like Max McGreevy. Max McGreevy on my card. I like Max McGreevy this week. 43 to 1 on DraftKings. I'm betting that. I like Max. And I also Aaron Rai, he popped last week. He played solid in the first round. He finished T28, but he gained on approach around the green and putting. I don't hate Aaron Rai that much this week. And this is tough. I mean, this is a really tough field.
The weather looks a little dicey on the weekend. There's some electricity like down there, potentially.
So I played the championship course like 3 weeks ago, and I get back to my aunt's house, and she's like, "That was the worst weather I've seen all year. It was legitimately cold, windy, and rainy. Like I was playing the bear trap and legitimately 30 mile an hour."
How'd you play?
I played solid. We were like drinking double screwdrivers, so it wasn't like a true locked in round.
On his pod yesterday that you said you weren't intimidated by any tee shot out there. Is that true?
Yeah, there weren't that like it's really on approach. It was the big thing. There wasn't a ton of tee shots. I was like, this is extremely tight. Like I'm worried about it. So I think I only lost one ball the entire day. So I was Vic lapping that. Maybe two balls. But one was in the rough, should have found it, doesn't count. But I hit the green on both of the par threes.
You did.
On the bear trap, which I was very happy with. I was playing from maybe 40 yards shorter than the pros and was hitting like a gap wedge in, but that doesn't matter. I still hit the shots. Everyone else hit the ball in the water and I hit it on the green. So I was happy with my iron play. We got a big season coming up. We have Scotland. I got Scotland in September. Got to have my game right for that.
Where are you playing in Scotland?
Dornick, Nairn. I don't fucking know. In Northern Ireland. Northern Scotland.
Are you going to be one of these architecture guys that like just post like the pencil on the scorecard before every round and like?
No, I'm not. I'm just gonna post.
I kind of love that, and I guess I technically did do that yesterday.
You did do that, yeah. That's like a real flex. Like you're not even showing a picture of the course; you're just showing the scorecard of the pencil, and saying I'm there. So I'm excited, and then I'm going to SF in April. Me and Andy are playing Pasa, and then potentially some other private courses in SF. So that would be a fun trip. So I got to have my golf game right. But I feel like the Florida Bachelor trip, I felt good about my game, and I think we can continue some momentum. But I will not be playing outside anytime soon.
So is Thor your lock for college?
No. Thor's okay. Also, I'm on Houghton Lee. Houghton Lee 47 to 1. He's won in the DP World Tour a bunch. He played well to start the year. Missed the cut at Phoenix, fine, whatever. But T8 and T11 at Farmers.
I think I had him as like a long shot at Phoenix, and he had that 9 where he shot like 34-44 or something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So, regardless, I'm on Houghton Lee's hungry after missing those signature events. Nico Etch, I think I'm on as well. He played well at Pebble.
Yeah.
He's played this event before. He's accurate off the tee. He's a good iron player. So I'm in there. Other than that, dude, I don't know. I mean, we have two defending champs. Eckroat and Highsmith have just completely fallen off the face of the earth.
Was Highsmith trending last year, like coming into this event, or was it?
He played well in Mexico the week before.
Yeah.
Like not he maybe finished like top 20 and like hit his irons well, but that was really it. So that was a great win from Highsmith. But other than that, I don't know, man. It's a tough week. I'm just where
I'd love to see like a Zalatoris pop here, or Max is in the field. For this event, like it's true. Like back, I don't know when did PGA Tour Live start? Maybe a decade ago.
Yeah.
When I first started watching PGA Tour Live, this event was like, it was a big event. All the big names. You could turn on PGA Tour Live at like 6:30 in the morning. And like, I have a true love for this event. And so I hope for them, like it's a good event. Like I hope no offense to Joe Highsmith, but I hope they don't get like a Joe Highsmith.
Yeah, no, totally fair. No, Joe Highsmith is not listening to this, so it's totally fine. But Josh, it was a pleasure. I'm really glad you could join. I'm glad we could do this. Give some Honda locks, talk some PGA Tour, talk some Hilton Head. It was a great pod, and I greatly appreciate you making the time to come on this week.
Big fan of yours, BK. Maybe we'll see you out at Shinny later this summer.
Yeah, I'm staying on. I'm playing national that week. So I might not be able to make it, but I'm staying.
You're talking about me flexing, and you're talking about.
I'm joking. I'm completely kidding. I'm
national.
But yeah, I'll let you know when I'll be out there at Shinnecock. It should be a fun event, and maybe there's some lottery that you could play it on Monday with national. Back to back. But I don't think that's
I gotta get the we gotta talk some Islanders Hurricanes playoff hockey. Right
okay.
now.
Well. Okay. So
I was watching the Olympics and Brock Nelson was there, and like my everlasting Brock Nelson memory is when we beat the Islanders in the playoffs. I think it was like 2018 maybe, and in the handshake line, Dougie Hamilton just like bops Brock Nelson on the head instead of shaking his hand. Like,
well, wasn't that because Brock tapped the goalie on the head?
He did.
Okay,
he did,
yeah.
Okay. But that's like one of my, like.
Yeah, no. If we had Brock this year, we would be very good. But I mean, we still are a solid hockey team. But if we had Brock, but like if we didn't trade Brock, we wouldn't have Schaefer most likely. So you got to factor that in. But I think Carolina is definitely going to be top in the Metro. Like, I don't think they're going to lose.
Our thing is like, we're like, one of my buddies like calls Rod Brendamore like the Doc Rivers of the NHL, because like we, every single year we're going to win like one or two rounds, and then we're just going to get either goalied or not have enough firepower in the East Finals to get to the Cup final. So like, I'm super confident that we'll probably win a round or two. And then we'll just, Florida will get hot and we'll have to play them, and then they'll just own us again.
Yeah, I would be extreme. Like, I think I'm in an Islanders Discord. Like, we would be extremely upset if we had to play Carolina to start, because that's the only team we played.
We beat you in 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, like we have a better team this year, but you're so ahead and top of the Metro that 2 and 3 should play. So right now we would play Pittsburgh, who I don't know what's going on with Crosby, but first round matchup against Pittsburgh, they're a good team, but like I would kill for that. Like that is a series we could win. Where
you guys beat them in the first round a couple years ago, didn't you?
Yeah. So, but if we were to drop down and be a wild card team and play Carolina, that would really suck. But the Atlantic has the two. The Atlantic has the 2 wild card spots right now, so that's who you would likely play. But we got some time left. Did you enjoy this break? Did you enjoy having some time off from the Hurricanes?
A little bit. I did. I don't like stress out and watch them every night, but it was nice to have a little bit of a break.
Yeah. No,
I'm excited for your hours. Like Patrick Waugh was probably my favorite player.
Okay.
Like I loved, even though the Canes, moved down here in like '98, the early 2000s Avalanche with
Yeah.
like Patrick Waugh, Forsberg, Sakic, Milan Hajduk, like Alex Tanguay, like that was my favorite team.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool to see Patrick Waugh like having some
Yeah,
success.
I love Patty. I've met him, shook
Yeah.
his hand.
Oh
I
yeah.
stalked him out on Bethpage. I was playing Bethpage Black, and I'm friends with the caddy there, and he's like, "Dude, Patrick Waugh is like a couple groups behind you." I'm like, "No fucking
Oh
way.
no
Are you
way.
serious?" So I literally finished my round, like went to go get a couple beers, and just sat on the bench and just waited for every group to come in. And I finally saw him. I went up to him and
I
said
love it.
hello. So Patty Waugh, he's the man.
The
Go
only
Isles.
the only athlete I've ever fanboyed on, like I make it a point to like not fanboy on athletes, but I was at a Masters party a couple years ago and Gretzky was there. And I had to just go up and get a photo with Gretzky,
Yeah,
But that's like the only athlete I've ever done that with.
the great one. Again, pleasure for you to come on. I got to get to work. Unfortunately, this is not my day job. But thank you to everyone who listened, and we'll see everyone next week for Bay Hill. Should be a great event. Great stretch of golf coming up.
Thanks, BK.